What's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a little TV show review of Creature Commandos. I know on my channel I mostly stick to movies, but this year I do want to kind of switch to movies and TV shows, and especially when it's about a topic like superhero media, which I am very familiar with. So today we're going to be talking about Creature Commandos. The last episode came out a couple days ago, and I'm incredibly excited to talk about the show. Let's go ahead and dive right into this, shall we? Okay, so right off the bat, I do want to go ahead and say that overall, this show 100% hit my expectations for the show. When it first came out, when it was first announced, I was a little skeptical about it, but hearing that it was fully written by James Gunn, I had a lot of confidence that it was going to be good, that it was going to be similar to a lot of his other projects like Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad movie that he created. And I think that's something James Gunn is particularly really good at, is making a team of misfit characters and having them work together. And I think that the show did a really good job of building this team dynamic. I do think that over the course of these 7 episodes, which was weird that it was 7 episodes, I will admit. I do wish that it could have been slightly longer, but I do think they did a good job of introducing each character and giving us a very good coherent story with them. However, I will say this show does a lot better than a lot of Marvel shows when it comes to the fact that it was actually episodic, but it was really weird how formulaic each episode was. For people who maybe haven't seen the show and are just watching this review to get a general idea of if you should watch the show, I liked it for the most part. I thought it was pretty good, but I do think it is interesting that after like the second or third episode, after they've introduced the team dynamic, explain what their overall mission is, and like send them to the location where they're going to be doing what they need to do, they kind of start this weird formula of, okay, we're going to have this episode be an entire like flashback episode giving you guys all the information you need to know about this specific character. And then we're going to come back to regular day, have them do a quick fight sequence or whatever. And the main character who we've been like, exploring their background, they're going to have some big moment in the fight. They're either going to die or they're going to, just have this huge moment. And then we'll go to the next episode where, once again, we give you this big sympathetic backstory of this character who we all see as a monster, and they've been treated like criminals their entire lives. And as much as I do like this show, sorry, I'm used to reviewing movies, not shows. As much as I like the show and I like the way that they set up all the characters, I do think it is really weird that they decided to go through and have every single character get their origin story laid out. I feel like in a team dynamic like this, some of these characters don't really need that background. I will say that as much as I really loved the episode with Weasel's background, and I cried during that episode, I do think it is a little weird that we're getting a bunch of background context over a character who nobody in this show or in the universe of the show are going to understand this character. As much as we now understand that he wasn't a bad guy, it does not change the fact that anybody who is with him knows he's a bad guy. The fact that somebody is being, a lawyer and trying to get him out of jail or whatever is kind of funny and interesting. But it's one of those things where it's just like, does every character need an origin story? I don't think so. I do enjoy it. I do like the fact that it felt episodic because they were able to do that. But I also think it takes away from the overall team dynamic of this film. At the end of the day, this show is supposed to feel similar to a Suicide Squad thing. Everybody's supposed to feel like a team dynamic. We get a couple of relationships throughout this group with Nina and the Bride, but overall, the majority of the characters don't really have this relationship with each other. Like, I feel like Dr. Phosphorus still by the end of the show doesn't really have a connection with any of them. Like, I think that he's kind of, in a way, being a co-leader with the Bride, where he's just like, I'm one of the most powerful people here. I'm going to tell people what to do. And it's fun, and I like his character, and I think Alan Tudyk does an incredible job with the voice work. Overall, I think that the entire voice acting cast did an incredible job. But I think that it's weird that they do not do more to kind of flesh out the team dynamic, explain, hey, this character does this thing, hey, this character does that thing, how do they work together? And I like that we're going to get another season of the show, but I am a little concerned with the fact that they leave this season off with, okay, here's an entirely new team, because are we going to get the exact same formula of, okay, here's this team member, here's what their deal is, then by the end of the episode, they have this big hurrah moment, and then we're moving on immediately? Because I liked it. I think it was great, and like I said, it worked, and it was very emotional. I think that there was a lot of stakes in this show, but it's also one of those things where it's just like, we're not having as much connection with the characters. As far as a team show goes, I feel like none of our characters had any very meaningful relationships with one another. There are a couple of side plots, like Rick Flag after the first episode feels like he almost does not need to be in the show at all, which is crazy because I like Rick Flag Sr. and I feel like he's always really helpful to have in a show like this where all the characters are monsters. Having that one human character who could be our focal character to focus on, like I said, he gets nothing to do in the majority of the show. Frankenstein, his entire subplot, I think it's entertaining having like another force to be reckoned with. Like, I think that James Gunn likes to do this in all of his movies because he's did it in all 3 of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where it's like, okay, who's the main villain? In Volume 3, right, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the main villain is obviously the Higher Evolutionary, but they throw in Adam Warlock at the beginning of the movie to kind of be a force for them to deal with. In the second movie, they do the exact same thing. Who's the main villain? Ego. Okay, we're going to have the High Republic come in, and that's going to be another force they have to deal with. And he constantly does this, and I feel like with Frankenstein being somebody who's kind of like going to be an obstacle that they potentially have to face, it's interesting, but it's also one of those things where it's like, I was expecting by the end of the show for him to be a part of the team and him and the bride have to like reluctantly work together. And the fact that we didn't get that at all is weird. The fact that he starts off the show on a yacht and he seems like he's like this rich like playboy, and then we immediately like don't have anything to do with that. He's just somebody who's very scary and can like force people to be his personal driver and his personal, you know, pilot for things. That was a little weird to me. I feel like by the end of the show, there's a lot of characters that were very underdeveloped, which is weird in a show where every single episode felt like a giant, hey, here's this introduction to this character, and now we're going to, you know, show you the modern day things that are going on. So overall, I like this show a lot, and I feel like everything I just said about it really makes it seem like I didn't. I think that the comedy of it was fantastic. I think that the action sequences were all incredible. I think that the anime style of the show overall is really good. Like, I think that this animation style worked really well for me. A lot of the fight sequences were cool. I like the fact that it wasn't afraid to show graphic violence. Like, this to me felt like a good use of a rated R TV show, and I definitely like the world building here. Like, this feels like a world that is very lived in. Things like Themyscira is being mentioned, but not necessarily to a point where like everybody knows what it is. It's kind of something that's like under the radar. A lot of people are like, I don't think this exists. It's a myth. And I like that that's setting up Wonder Woman relatively well, because when she shows up and she's from Themyscira, people are going to be like, okay, so she's not, like, that's got to be a lie. And I think that that's cool, right? Like, I'm enjoying that this is the first introduction to this new universe. It feels very lived in. We get to kind of have a general idea of what certain elements are going to be implemented whenever we're seeing, you know, Superman and some of the other James Gunn projects. And I really like that, and I really live for that. So I'm excited about this project. I think it was relatively good. Leaving this show, I had a couple of characters I really liked, like Nina. Can't believe what they did with her at the end of the show. Very upset about it, but it's okay. And then I really liked Dr. Phosphorus. I'm excited to see these characters potentially again. I think it would be really cool if we got a chance to see some of them in live action. I understand with this specific group of characters, they're going to be really difficult to do in live action, but I think at least the bride alone, now that she's kind of the leader of this team, you could potentially see her show up and stuff. So I enjoyed this movie overall. I keep calling it a movie, I'm so sorry. I enjoyed the show overall. If I had to give it an overall rating, I'd probably give it a solid like 7.3. It was really good. The animation style was good. I just really wish we got more out of that team dynamic, and I really wish we had just a little bit more time with the characters and with the overall plot, because they did a couple of plot twists, and there's like things that they were setting up for the future that we don't really see any of it fully pay off. We just kind of see, okay, they killed the princess, and now we're supposed to believe that they saved the day, but I feel like there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and they don't really explain a lot of the stuff that goes on with Clayface. So overall, although I enjoyed the show, I do wish that we got a little bit more information. And I do think that that's actually really good, that that's my main complaint for the show, is that I just wanted more of it. So yeah, that being said, that was it for this review. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.